Hi, everybody. It is June 22nd at just after 7 o'clock, and this is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Finance Committee. At the beginning of the meeting, I'm joined by Councilor Greenberg from Ward 1. Do we have Councilor Bickley? Doesn't look like it. Councilor Maliki from Ward 3. Do we have Kritzman online? Yes, Councilor Kritzman online from Ward 4. Councilor Charm from Ward 5, Councilor Bixby from Ward 6, myself from Ward 7, and we have Councilor Solber online from Ward 8. And we are going to take one item out of order tonight, which is the one that appears last on your agenda, item 197-26. That is the one that got recommitted to repurpose paving money to snow and ice money. And Commissioner Sullivan, if it's okay with you, I'm going to put that in right after 216-26, but before we go to Miss Lemieux, so you don't have to wait around for the items that are just for Miss Lemieux to guide us through. So otherwise, I'm going to go in order. We'll start with 201-26, which is His Honor the Mayor requesting authorization for a potential lease for solar energy generation at Burr Elementary School. Public Facilities approved this 5-0 on June 3rd. God, that feels like longer ago than that. I guess on June 3rd. And we have Mr. Nyman, Co-Director of Sustainability, and Commissioner Valcarce of Public Buildings to talk to us
about that. Want me to go ahead, Commish?
Yep, go ahead, Sam. You got it.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, councilors. So here tonight, requesting your authorization to potentially enter into a lease agreement for the purpose of third-party construction, ownership, and operation of on-site renewable solar at Burr Elementary. That follows the model we've done at all of our now 22 other kind of significant solar projects here in Newton, where we allow a company to construct the solar on our sites, and then we purchase the output of the project. In this case, we've worked with Select Energy, a Massachusetts-based solar company who we've worked with on 5 projects now to review the opportunity at Burr. It's a flat, open roof, a little over 25,000 square feet of usable space, potentially for solar panels. And from an early look, it looks like it could be a fantastic project. Great economics, incredibly good PPA rate for us at a little under 7 cents a kilowatt hour. So with an estimated 286,000 kilowatt hours of output annually, the cost savings there are estimated around 30,000 or more annually. That's a very early estimate based on the preliminary design. So it won't be until we actually enter into the negotiations and do a more detailed analysis of the opportunity there and the site characteristics and all of that, that we really see how it all shakes out. But looking forward to moving forward on that. Look forward to any questions you might have on it.
Thank you. Do we have comments and questions from the committee? Councilor Maliki.
Okay, so Select is the company that you definitely go with, as opposed to, was there any sort of competitive aspect?
For this one, the competitive aspect, it's a little interesting. There was a state law a few years back that allowed nonprofits or organizations to conduct kind of larger scale RFP processes to then provide to the members of the organization, for example, that kind of as a kind of legal procurement pathway. So in this case, Power Options, which is a large statewide nonprofit that does a whole bunch of different things in the sort of energy space for other nonprofits and municipalities, conducted that RFP. Select was the winner of that, and we're dues-paying members of Power Options, a great organization that helps us on a number of fronts. But as a member, we've been able to take advantage of that procurement pathway. One major advantage that we've found with this, as opposed to kind of conducting just a broader RFP process, is that Select has been kind of a partner with us at the early stages in reviewing potential opportunities and giving us kind of their early estimates of what could be good, viable projects, versus normally to do that sort of work, we might have to pay, a consultant to come in, 10 grand to come in and take a look to really look at it. So it gives us a nice pathway to reviewing the project at an early point to even see what might be feasible. So we've now done 4 projects with them, and we are midway through the Cooper Center as the 5th one with them. So yeah, we would look forward to doing it with them here.
So Power Options determine some terms, and then there are other terms still to be negotiated, which is
Yeah, they had a very kind of general sort of pro forma, if you will, for a whole bunch of things, but the kind of rough project economics, how much of money are they allowed to make on it versus what kind of savings or incentives, how those flow through to us, and then we have negotiated out on each of our projects so far a much more specific kind of PPA and separate lease agreement that we can obviously, as we're the ones controlling it, negotiate whatever they're willing to agree to. So from the set pro forma, we've then layered on top of that our own set of negotiations.
okay.
Yeah.
And I noticed looking at the sort of the technical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is new, but it appears that the systems get solar power from the backside of the sort of the panels as well as the front. Is that a new thing?
That is a fairly new thing. Yes. You don't get a lot from the back, but you could get some.
Reflected off the panels that are behind them, it looks like.
Yeah, and just generally reflected off anything around the site. I mean, they're pretty low to the roof, but they're not immediately flat on it. They're at the high end, 18 inches or so off. So there's a little bit of opportunity for light to hit in there.
Okay, and I looked at the diagram and the backup and the map rather, and
Yeah.
and Google Earth. Is there any tree pruning, chopping off tops going to happen here, or are they low enough or far enough from the building that you don't need to do that?
Great question, Counselor. Yeah, there are no impacts to trees that would be required here or even beneficial. The only tree that really is directionally relevant is very, very small. It's not even, it's a 2-story building, and I think it reaches right around the roof height at its highest point. So no impacts to trees here.
That's great. And then I noticed there's like a 6.5% loss due to soiling. Is that sort of the accumulation of grime on the panels themselves? And do you do regular washing to try to minimize that?
Yeah, it's general soiling, which can be anything throughout the various seasonality. There's leaves at times, there's pollen at certain times. Rain for the most part and wind can do a pretty good job at cleaning off a lot of that. If need be, we would, if too much snow is piled up in the past, for example, we have had, remove some of the snow, but generally speaking, nature takes its course and there's not much active management needed.
So that's basically the kind of percent that people live with.
Yeah, that's and what's projected there, that's just kind of their projected soiling system loss. They're using their own set of, for our specific environment here in New England, eastern kind of Massachusetts, in particular, what we would expect for an average system.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's it for me.
Yeah.
Comments or questions? Is there a motion on the item?
Oh.
Motion to approve by Councilor Greenberg. Any other discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? That is unanimously approved. We thank you very much, Mr. Nyman. Have a good night.
Thank you, counselors.
We're going to go on to 216-26, which is His Honor the Mayor requesting authorization to repurpose $150,000 and transfer $177,000 for renovations at Fire Station 2. This was approved by Public Facilities on June 17th. Commissioner Valcarce, would love
Good
to
evening.
describe this for us.
Sure. Good evening. Thank you very much. I'll try to get rid of a little bit of this feedback, hopefully. Can you all hear me?
Ken, I'm not experiencing any feedback on our end.
Okay, good. So this item is to renovate the shower and locker rooms at Station 2. I had brought this, I had docketed this in April, and right before my meeting at Public Facilities, I realized that one of my funding source references was incorrect. So the project, I have the backup. We're going to renovate the shower locker room area. We identified this. The chief went back and looked at a number of these items that we are looking to repurpose and move money around, and determined that this was really the issue that he wanted to solve first and foremost, was the shower locker room. We did a little field trip in May. I think some folks from PF went. I thought somebody from finance went. We toured the stations. There you go. I was trying to jog my memory. So we toured the stations and we got to look at all the spaces and speak with the chief. So essentially, we're looking to repurpose the $150,000 from item 120-25, which was to do some renovations of living spaces at Station 1 and 2, to do the locker room, shower room, and then transfer $177,000 from item 411-24, so that we have the sum total that we need to do the renovation project. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Councilor
A
Maliki.
couple of quick ones, I think. It looked like the quote was good until 6:30, but we're not going to have city council meet, so.
It'll be fine. It's Homer's one of our on-call contractors, so they understand that we have several steps to go through.
And it hadn't occurred to me how you deal with this, but they want, everything, people and stuff out of the area they're working in. What do the firefighters do when projects like this are going on?
So they've made arrangements. There are other shower bathroom facility that they will then use and rotate around. It's for some of the higher level staff, but they will work with it and work around it. So it'll get organized. They're kind of used to it, and they'll be happy to do it to get the shower room and the locker room area all fixed up.
Okay, great.
Any other questions? No? Other comments and questions from the committee? Is there a motion on the item?
I'll move it.
Motion to approve by Councilor Maliki. Any further discussion before we vote?
I was just going to ask about the approximate timeline of the project. Commissioner Valcarce.
We'll work with the fire department, but we want to get it started. I'm going to assume we're going to get started right away in the summer and get it going. So we'll have to work it out with the timing with the chief, but I would see it happening over the next 2 months, or maybe a little further out, but within that timeline.
And how long do you expect it to take to be completed?
That is a good question, and it's somewhat dependent upon what we discover when we open up some of these walls. I would probably envision it might take 3 to 4 weeks. I mean, it just depends. Again, we will organize it. The contractor will get his long lead items so that he has everything available and ready to go. So we're not like opening it up and then walking away and leaving it. It will work through through the schedule with them and get everybody on board. So probably 3 to 4 weeks would be my expectation.
And to your point about opening up walls and never knowing exactly what you're going to find, I can imagine that is just as much the case in all of our public facilities renovations as it is with all of our home renovations. How do you think about contingency funds for something like this to be able to budget against it, and where would those contingency funds come from?
So we identified in the backup we have the contractor's proposal, and then we carried funds for for a few items. We have to open up the walls, so there may be some waterproofing mastic that might need some abatement. So we're carrying some funds there. There'll probably be some miscellaneous items we buy for the bathroom showers. It's a small amount of money. And we're budgeting some funds for the HVAC for the ventilation system. And then we're carrying $30,000 in contingency, which it's good. I think that we'll be in good shape with that. Again, we have to see what's inside the walls, but I'm not thinking that we're going to run into anything too major. So I think we're in pretty good shape.
Okay, got it. I just found that line item. Okay. All right. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Counselor Malachy. Any other comments or questions before we vote? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? That is unanimously approved as well. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Have a good night.
Great. You too. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're gonna skip over the next two items and go to 197-26, which is His Honor the Mayor requesting authorization to transfer the sum of $900,000 for improvements to roadways, sidewalks, and ramps. As you know, this was voted out of our committee in public facilities, went before the full council, and then on my putting this on second call was recommitted to both committees to change the purpose of this for snow and ice control. Commissioner Sullivan, would love to have you speak to this.
Thank you very much. As noted, this is a request to amend docket item 19726 to transfer $900,000 in salary attrition from the streets division's operating budget to the snow and ice budget rather than to the paving supplies override account as originally proposed. The need for this amendment arose when one of the city's largest snow and ice contractors submitted approximately $850,000 in invoices following the execution of their contract at the end of May. While the services were performed during the winter season, the invoices were not received by Public Works until recently. Public Works and our finance team have completed a review of the invoices and verified that the charges are accurate and consistent with the work performed. Given the size of the contractor's operations and the delayed billing, I'm requesting the transfer of the full $900,000 to ensure sufficient funding is available should any additional outstanding invoices be submitted. This request does not increase the overall department budget. Rather, it reallocates existing appropriations from a salary account with available funding due to personnel vacancies to the account where the expenditures were incurred. In addition, we have identified several process improvements to strengthen financial oversight moving forward. Public Works is revising its snow and ice contracting procedures to ensure contracts are fully executed prior to the start of the winter season. And our finance team is developing enhanced tracking and reporting procedures that will provide more timely visibility into snow and ice expenditures throughout the year. This transfer will allow the city to meet its financial obligations for services already rendered while improving our contract management and financial monitoring practices going forward. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. So Commissioner, you'll remember that at Public Facilities, I had asked the question about what impact this will have on the road work for next year. And
Yes.
the bottom line answer was essentially, we're going to have to come up with a new source of $900,000 or take $900,000 worth of work off the schedule. Is that fair?
That is it. That's fair.
Okay. Ms. Lemieux, if I could ask you, what do you think the likelihood is of us coming up with the $900,000? Like, are we more likely to come up with the $900,000 or more likely to have to reduce the paving schedule?
I would say that we are far more likely to come up with the money. What we will do is in the fall, either September or October, once free cash has been declared, we will most probably, the mayor and I haven't actually had this specific conversation, but I would expect that we will be docketing an item to move 900 from free cash so that we can accomplish the paving that we would have done with this money.
Okay, thank you. What comments and questions did folks have? Councilor Greenberg.
Thank you. Was this bill for $850,000 from the contractor a surprise?
Yes.
In what way?
It was a failure on DPW's part to include that in our wrap up for the year end at our request for $3.2 million that occurred, I believe, in late April. When they calculated, they did not calculate the full contract costs.
On our end, we didn't add that to our, I see.
Yes, we should have been aware of them. Unfortunately, the contract was not executed until late May, which meant we couldn't pay any invoices and we hadn't received those invoices. So what they used was an estimate, and their estimate was significantly off.
Do we usually receive these invoices in the spring?
Sometimes, yes. We are, as I noted, we're working to correct that.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Maliki, then Charm.
Yeah, just following up on that. When you say didn't execute the contract until May, I thought contracts were executed before the winter season started.
We do our best to do that. Unfortunately, we're very reliant on our contractors when it comes to significant snowstorms, and we have to call them in regardless of whether the contract's executed. In next year, the plan is to include language that we will not be calling them unless their contract fully executed.
So this was all one contract, one contractor, one company?
Yes.
And had they done, so they hadn't done any work earlier in the season, but they were called in at the end of the season, basically,
They came in for 3 snowstorms.
without a contract?
Yes.
So was any other companies working for a time without a contract?
Most of them.
So if I may, Madam Chair, I'll jump in with the commissioner. It is very, very difficult to get the contracts fully executed with our contractors for snow. They are companies that, for whatever reason, don't understand our need for having contracts in place. What we do require is when they are going to plow for us, we absolutely require that they give us their certificate of insurance. And so whether we have all of the other documents fully signed or not, they operate, it's almost like I don't want to say a gentleman's agreement, but they operate under exactly what they have proposed for us, or what we've told them we will pay them by the hour, depending on which contract they're working under. But it is far more difficult than you would ever realize. And when it starts to snow, if they haven't given us back a fully signed contract, if all of a sudden our first storm is 12 inches and they haven't given us back a contract, it's very difficult to look at the contractors and say, we're not allowing you out on our roadways because, clearly the mayor, you as a council, the residents, everybody is expecting the roads to be plowed. And so we do the very best that we can in chasing them. However, because we had a similar but different issue last year. So this is really 2 years in a row that we've had a difficult time that has really reared its head at the end of the season. And so we are going to really handle this very differently next year. We will be informing them this summer and through the fall that we are going to need all of their paperwork. The financial services group is going to work with Public Works to make sure that we're not missing anything. So we are going to do our very best to tighten this up. And hopefully we will not be back here a year from now with a similar situation.
So, like, what's the sort of the drop dead date when you're telling them we have to have the contract signed?
I don't know that we've come up with that date yet, but I would certainly think we want all the signatures and everything in place really by November 1st. I mean, we all know, maybe even October 15th. We all know we can get a fluke storm early in the year. If you think back to the Halloween storm several years ago, who would have thought that we would have as much snow as we did on Halloween, but we could. And so, it may be October 1st or October 15th, but we really need to impress upon them that we will not put them or their equipment out on the streets if they haven't gotten it back to us. And we're going to have to stand by that. So hopefully they will, because if they don't get it to us, and if we don't have the teeth to follow through on it, then it's all for naught. So, we will do our very, very best to impress upon them that we will not put their vehicles out on the roads unless they've given us everything.
I'm going to be fascinated to see how that works.
Uh,
Can there be a sort of financial incentive, like the price?
No.
The price is a little
No,
less.
there should. So to be honest, there should not be a financial incentive. Their financial incentive should be that they will get the work. We do give them financial incentives for the years when we have very little snow, when they've committed to having contractors in place and available for us. And if we don't get enough snow to make it worth their while, we actually do give them financial incentives for that. But it is absolutely against all of at least my principles for us to ever give them a financial incentive to get the contract signed.
All right. Okay.
This is sounding very much like a parenting discussion in my household at the moment. If you're going to make the threat, you better be ready to back it up.
Yeah.
Counselor Charm.
I had very similar questions to Counselor Maliki. I'm curious, to what do you attribute their reticence to sign these contracts until May? Is there any incentive in the pricing structure for them to wait and see that it was a really heavy season and then they would be getting paid at the maximum rates? Is there I'm speculating, but I would love to just hear your answer in terms of, like, why do you feel like they are not interested in that?
I don't think that there is a reason.
I
There's
think
no
if I
financial incentive.
I think it's just not important to them.
Yeah.
It's as bizarre as that sounds.
Is there a way that we could be, I guess it, as you were saying, Ms. Lemieux, it's similar of, whether there's a way that we can just be making it clear that we would be like blocking them out of getting the business. And like, this is, fear of missing out, and making it clear that they won't be qualified. But yeah, it's a little shocking.
We will be working with the law department to see what kind of teeth we can put into the contract to ensure that they sign it in a timely fashion.
Thank you. That's it.
So just to clarify something to that comment. So it's not as though the contractors are negotiating the terms or pushing back on terms, and that's what's holding it up. It's just sort of a lack of administrative follow through.
That's exact. It's a lack of follow through, and the only reason that we finally get signed documents is because we won't pay them until we have signed documents. So they can't get their money. So they started plowing for us back in December or whatever the first storm was that we called them in for, and we are now here in June, and we still haven't paid them for anything. So it's a very strange way to run an operation. But this is not the first year, and this is not the first contractor. We've had our other contractors have done similar things, and the only leverage we have in the end is that we don't pay them. So eventually, they get us what we need.
Right. Okay, Councillor Silver.
I had two questions. The first is there significant churn in the contractors from year to year? Like, do we just have very different contractors every year, or is it typically the same people?
For our zone contractors, it's typically the same. Our on-calls can vary slightly. We always pick up a couple and lose a couple each year.
Got it. And the second question is, are there significant changes from year to year in the contracts?
No.
I mean,
Cost.
just thinking out loud, I mean, I'm wondering, would it be possible to have a contract that's perpetual with work orders attached, maybe? So that you have like a contractual structure and then the work order determines maybe the costs and things like that. Splitting them apart, so if you have the same people year in, year out, the contract is sort of the supervisory relationship, and then the work order determines, well, it's this much money this year or whatever.
That can get very complicated because also with our contracts, we pay by pieces of equipment, which vary greatly in between our contractors. Our zone contractors generally have the larger pieces, but they can, and oftentimes don't show up with that piece of equipment, and we have to substitute for a different rate piece of equipment. It gets a little complicated. We usually attach a rate sheet to each of their individual contracts for each piece of equipment.
Right. Yeah, I was just thinking any way to break that and separate it into the supervisory relationship or agreement and the, rate card or purchase order or whatever. But I'm sure you thought of that already. Just
So
kind of curious.
we are meeting weekly on the best way to handle these contracts going forward.
Good luck. I also have a landscaper who doesn't send a bill for a year, but I'm not as upset as I used to be. Now I'm actually quite happy.
Okay, other comments or questions? Is there a motion on this item? Oh, do we have to amend this? So first we're going to need a motion to amend exactly as Public Facilities did, changing the account numbers that you can see in your agenda. I can read them out, but I don't really think that's necessary, is it?
Let's read it out, perhaps for the record.
All right. So what Public Facilities approved is amended. So the amendment I'm looking for is to change account 0140131-553300 DPW Admin Support Paving Supplies Override for the improvement of the city's roadway, sidewalks, and ramps to account number 0140123-527301 Snow and Ice Control. Is there such a motion to make that amendment? Moved by Councillor Bixby. All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so now we have the item as amended before us. Is there a motion on the full item as amended?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councillor Bixby. Any further discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so that's all set. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
You too. We're going to go back to page 2 of our agenda, first to 214-26. His Honor, the Mayor requesting authorization to transfer $1,175,000 to the Newton Police Department for contractual fiscal year 27 wage increases. And then, Ms. Lemieux, do you want me to put the second one on there as well?
Yes, please.
So then also item 215-26 to transfer $710,000 for retroactive wage adjustments connected to the same bargaining agreement. Ms. Lemieux.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On behalf of, as I said at PS&T last week, for any of you who were in attendance at that meeting, on behalf of the administration, the mayor in particular, I am very happy to be bringing these requests forward to you. It has been more than 5 years since we have come to a joint agreement with the NPA in particular. Many of you may know, but others who are new may not know, we did not reach a fiscal 22 to 24 agreement for a collective bargaining agreement with them. We ended up going to what's called the JLMC, the Joint Labor Management Committee, at the state level, which is actually binding arbitration. We couldn't, which is only available to police and fire. It's for public safety, but we did not reach agreement with them for that 22 to 24 timeframe. And now we are, as I think you realize, this is now the 25 to 27 contract period, which 2 of these years are behind us as well as we enter this. So we are thrilled that we have finally jointly and respectfully reach an agreement with them. What I want to say is that we really feel that this agreement is showing our commitment to, our dedication to, our support of not only our police department. This group is has about 110 sworn positions. These are our rank and file police officers, not our supervisors. And so what I think this shows is our commitment and dedication to not only the police force, but also to our new chief. And so all around, it's a great beginning for Chief Cahoon to be able to start with an agreement that is in place for the next year that we reached together, as opposed to it being enforced on either one of us. There are 2 key items that are part of the police agreement. The first one is, if you've taken a look at it at all, they have agreed to establish what we are referring to as a fit for duty committee. And this committee, the intent is for us to work together to develop language that describes how, if either the chief or a ranking officer or even a person in their own union, if we feel that there is a police officer who may be struggling, whether it's emotionally or physically, or that if we think that someone does not belong out on the streets, we need to have some type of a mechanism for helping that individual seek professional help and make sure that they really are, exactly as the term says, fit for duty. So there's language. So we are going to be establishing a committee to work with them to really develop a policy that we think will be better than what we have. The second item that this agreement accomplishes is what we refer to as laterals, lateral hires, lateral transfers. And what that is this will now give us the opportunity to bring, if there are police officers who have been in some other community in the Commonwealth who may be interested in transferring into Newton. Prior to this, they had to come in as a step 1 officer, even if they had 5, 6, 8, 10 years experience on some other police force. If they were transferring to Newton, they had to come in at step 1. This allows the chief to be able to look at their prior experience and to put them wherever it is appropriate on our scale of steps. We have 8 steps for our police patrol. We will be able to give them credit toward longevity, and we will be able to look at vacation and make adjustments there as a result of this. It does not put them ahead of police officers who have been with us as far as promotional language is concerned. But as you can imagine, if you're part of a union, it's always difficult to give up the notion that anybody coming in new has to start below the people who are already here. And so we think this is actually very good for the department. We have people who we force as holdovers because we typically have about 10 vacancies in the NPA. We have for several years now. We just can't get over that hump. And so what we're hoping is that this will help us really increase our number of sworn officers, which will eliminate some of those holdover days and really help to improve the work-life balance of our police officers. And so that's why I say that we're really happy to bringing this forward to you, because we think there are those are issues that both as management and as the union that we have joint concerns about. And so I think we've really been able to make some great strides. The two items that are before, the first one, the one that involves the 710,000, I think is 21526. That is for the retro pay. In addition to the NPA, even though that's the big one that we settled, we also settled with the engineers in DPW, and we settled with the parking control and crossing guards, all for the 25 to 27 timeframe. With these three settlements, we have now reached agreement with every one of our unions. We will have all of our contracts in place through June 30th of 2027. And so we need some retro money for both the engineers and the parking control groups. The bulk of the 710 is going to the NPA. I'm only asking for 500 or so for the NPA because we ended up with a significant balance in the police salary line items. Though that money will end up making up the rest of the retro pay that we need to set aside for our police officers. Docket item 21426 is strictly for the FY27 money that we need to add to our FY27 budget. That is coming out of the comptroller's wage reserve line item. The budget that you approved in the comptroller's budget, we had that $1,175,000 for wage reserves. We budgeted for the wage reserves, but we don't budget it in the department where we're going to expend it until we settle our contracts. And so we are looking to move that entire amount into the police department, mostly for the NPA. I am not asking for any money to be moved in fiscal 27 for the engineers. So the engineers, we have money in 25 and 26 for retro, not in 27, because as we were just the prior item that we just did, you see that every year we end up with considerable savings from attrition in public works. So we will have plenty of money to fund the FY27 portion of the engineer's contract without moving money for it at this point in time. So that's why docket item 214 is only moving money into the NPA. Just to give you one more bit, and then I'll be happy, because it's not rocket science, but it becomes very complicated when we are dealing with several years worth of money that we're moving. What happens in actuality is, so we settled all of these contracts for 3% codes for each of the 3 years. In fiscal 25, we need to add 3% to whatever their wages were for all three of these groups. In fiscal 26, we need to have enough money for the 3% in 25 plus another 3% in 26, which actually with the compounding ends up being 6.09% that we need in 26. By the time we get to fiscal 27, it's almost 9.2% that we need for their salaries. So if you think about it, if you're an officer making 100,000 for round numbers in 2024, in 2025, we need to have 3,000 for you as a retro, because you would be moving up to 103. By 26, you would be getting paid 106. So I need another 6,000 in retro for you then. So I need 9,000 in retro for those 2 years. Then by the time we get to fiscal 27, you're making a little over 109,000. And so when we put the budget together, what's most important is that in our budget that we present to you, that we have that 9,000 in the 2027 budget. When we haven't settled contracts, what we do is roll over that wage reserve every year so that we'll have the retro portion that actually is a carry forward until we settle each contract. But in the current year, I always need to make sure that we have enough in the wage reserve to cover how many years in we are to every one of our contracts. And so, as I said, it's not rocket science, but it becomes very complicated when you're doing this over a period of years. So I will stop there, Madam Chair, and I will be more than happy to answer anything that anybody might want to ask me.
Thank you. Comments and questions from the committee? Councilor Greenberg.
Thank you. Ms. Lemieux, just curious, when the employee receives that retro pay, does it just come in one lump sum in one check?
It may. I am not sure that we've actually decided how we're doing it. We typically work with the unions. Sometimes we have given them we've done it like say over a 2 or 3 week period, depending on how many years back we're going. So sometimes we'll do just the 25 sum in 1 week's extra check. Then maybe we do 26 the next week. And then if we owe them any money for 27, we won't need any retro for 27 because we are getting all of this in place so that their first check in the new year will be reflective of their new rates. We probably, as long as the union doesn't have any objection, we will probably only give them one check that will be the retro for 25 and 26. But so it's, it ends up being a total of 9% of whatever they had been earning as their base pay. And so it ends up being, certainly a healthy check for people.
And are the employees made aware of how to be paid the retro?
Oh, absolutely. We work very, very closely with the union when we're calculating all the retro. We typically share our spreadsheets with them. They try to calculate what they think the numbers are. We have Lisa Pearson in the police department, who is absolutely fabulous when it comes to this, doing her calculations. We also do calculations in financial services, FP&A. Mine are always more back of the envelope, but I end up being very, very close to what the real number is. And then we have payroll calculating it. So we have really 4 different sets of eyes on this, all of us working together. As soon as we nail down with payroll what weeks we're going to be giving them either their new salaries or their retro, we work with the union to keep them completely informed.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Other comments and questions? Councilor Bixby.
Did the crossing guards also, you mentioned them and there's an increase here, but was that just for the traffic enforcement, parking enforcement, or is it also for the crossing guard side?
For the crossing guards as well.
Do you know what
so
that?
They will get their retro. One thing that's true, if someone asked this the other night at PSNT, so I will just say this: if somebody has left our employ but had worked for us for part of this time, they end up getting whatever money would have been owed to them.
Got it. Thank you.
Other comments and questions? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion on these 2 items?
I'll move it. Move on.
Oh, wow, so many motions all at once. I saw Councilor Charm first, so motion to approve. Why don't we vote them separately? So first I'll take this motion to approve 214-26. Any further discussion before we vote on that? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That's unanimously approved. And then Councilor Charm, 215-26.
Yes, I would motion to approve 215-26.
Awesome. So we have a motion approved by Counselor Charm. Any other discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any abstention? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that's unanimously approved as well. And that concludes our work for tonight. Ms. Lemieux, question for you.
Yes.
Do you know of anything coming down the pipeline that would lead us to need a July meeting?
It is always my hope and intent when we get to this point in the year not to put items in front of you for the summer. We all work pretty hard during May and June. And so I try as best I can not to put things in front of you. I don't think we have anything at the moment, but as is often the case, something may come up that we need you to act on before we get to September. I will certainly stay in touch with you, Madam Chair, in case anything does, but hopefully we'll be able to get through the bulk of the summer.
Okay, so just so everybody knows, I don't have a meeting on the calendar for July or August now. I have found in years past, sometimes something very brief does come up, and usually we can take care of it in a really brief meeting before the scheduled full council meeting for July or August. If anything does come up, obviously we'll communicate with you, but for now, my hope is to have a quiet summer where the Finance Committee is concerned. So, of course, be in touch with anything on your mind or comments or questions or anything you want to think about for the fall. But I am hoping we can all have a little bit of a breather. Mr. Curley?
Hi, thanks. I was just going to mention, Maureen, wasn't there an IT grant that was time sensitive for this next month or so?
Did we end up docketing that?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Oh, that's unfortunate. All right, so
Possibly. I'll check, but I don't think so.
I thought we had told them that we needed that to be docketed, but I don't know. I will certainly look into it also.
Well, an IT grant sounds wonderful and probably relatively brief to accomplish. So I'm sure we can figure out how to manage that appropriately. If indeed there's one out there for us to review, I will certainly keep my eyes open for it and we'll figure it out.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for the heads up, Mr. Curley. Okay, have a great night, everyone.
All right. Thank you very much.
Take care.